Welcome to the Iconics Genesis 64 video guide. This video discusses how to create buttons with three-dimensional labels and other complex images in order to improve intuitive navigation within displays.
GraphWorX64 is a very flexible and powerful environment. In this video we will see how we can customize some common objects to make them look like a little bit different than usual. So let's take a button, a regular gray button, and make it a little bit bigger than normal. So as you can see on the left in the Object Explorer, we can expand this object. And when we do that, we can see that inside it there is a text object, which is this text here. We can resize it, we can play with it, we can do many things. But one thing that could come to your mind is what happens if I draw another object inside my button. Is it possible? Well, yeah. For example, if I start adding an ellipse like this, you will see that you are getting an error message because the system tells you that you can only have one object as a child for your button. But if you remove the current object, then you can draw, for example, an ellipse. And you can make it red if you want. Now, if you group your ellipse with itself right now, just to create a group, then the only child that you can have inside the button is the group itself. So you can also add additional objects to your button. And to prove that this button is actually still working as you expect, let me create a process point where we can put a local variable, which I'll call var, and let me copy this, and I want this button to write some value to that variable, so we'll use the write value pick action, and here I will write my variable. So to make this a little more interesting, let me make this like a counter. Every time I press the button, that value will be increased. To do that, I write a simple expression where I select my variable and I will increase it by 1. So it's just a little counter. So when I go runtime, you will see my variable at the beginning is 0. And if I press my button, it goes up to 1. And I can also click on the other objects. It still keeps on adding 1 to my data source. So you can also do something a little bit more complex with your button. So rather than having these shapes, you can also create like a 3D view control in it. And in your 3D view control you can put some objects, for example, let's say a simple cube, which we can make a little bit bigger, and we can also animate it. So for example, we can rotate it. We will use a discrete animation so that the cube will always rotate. Data source 1 will activate it because the active 1 property is set to data not equal to 0. And we will set a duration for the rotation 2000 milliseconds, and we set this dynamic to be repeated forever. So we should be all set. If I go runtime now, I have an object on my button which rotates. I can move my mouse over the button and I can click on it. Now you will notice something. If I click my button now, this doesn't increase anymore. I have to press it very near the border where the 3D view control is not present. This is because by default I can interact with the 3D view control, for example by rotating my cube. So if I want to make this button fully clickable and therefore usable, I need to change a property for the 3D view control itself, or eventually the group. What I need to change is in the properties, the isItTestVisible property. And you can see a little description down here. So if we set this to be false, the 3D view control, or everything inside this group in this case, is no longer clickable. So when I click on top of it, the mouse click goes behind and actually clicks the button. The drawback for this is that I cannot rotate my cube anymore. So you have to choose if you want your button, 3D button, to be clickable, or if you want to interact with its content. Probably you want it to be clickable, otherwise it would be useless to have a button in there. So, this was just a very simple example to demonstrate how flexible and how powerful GraphWorX objects are. This is probably something that you may not be using in your real application, but it just gives you the idea of what you can do. And by the way, the same way you can put a 3D view control in it, you can put like an alarm viewer control or a trend or eventually another GraphWorX display inside the GraphWorX viewer control. So it's really, you can create any type of button you want using this approach.